and welcome back to Adventurous Way. I'm Matt, and today Diana is back at the RV, which means I'm here on the land all on my own. Honestly, this is not the best day to be here. It is raining right now, although hopefully it's going to stop fairly soon. And it's been raining for the last couple of days, so the ground is really wet and muddy. I had a bit of a hard time even just getting the truck up here to the house site. But we've got work to do, and fingers crossed the weather will improve today, which will make things a little bit easier. This is kind of the weather we've come to expect around here. A decent amount of rain. There is some sun. We do get some drier days as well. But with the amount of work we've got to do, we've just got to get out here as soon as possible when we can and get things moving. Last week we cleared all of our wood chips. We chipped them all through that big Vermeer chipper. And we now have this giant pile of wood chips that you can see behind me. We've spread some of them on the ground here just using the tractor, but the rest of them, we had so many more than we could use in this area. The rest of them, we're going to take up and start to put them on the trails. So we've got all these trails, about half a mile of trails weaving through the property that already exist. And at the moment, they've got a load of ferns and grass and things on them. So I'm just going to get a string trimmer, trim down the ferns and the weeds and things that are growing on the closest section to here, and then using the tractor, go and spread these wood chips up there. That's my job for today, so we'll see how it goes. The area you can see behind me is the area that I'm meant to be attacking today. The part of the trail kind of back from here is actually not too bad. It's covered in pine needles, and that does a pretty good job of keeping down the grass and the weeds. But the section behind me, you can see, is overgrown with ferns and weeds and grass and things, so that's the area that I'm going to be attacking today. To do that, I'm using this. This is Dewalt's new cordless 60-volt string trimmer, but it's also the one that supports the universal attachment. In other words, it's compatible with multiple different tools. I can detach the power head from the string trimmer base and attach things like a brush cutter or even a pole saw attachment. Better yet, it's not even just restricted to Dewalt attachments, so I can attach things from, for example, Ryobi and their expanded selection of tools. We picked this up yesterday. It uses the exact same type of batteries that our cordless chainsaw uses, our pole saw and things like that. This actually came with a giant 9 amp hour battery. This thing is huge. Our other ones are 6 amp hour and they're pretty big, but this is a different league. So this is what I'm going to be using today. We literally bought it yesterday and unboxed it yesterday, so this will be our first time trying this out. I'm standing here now in all of my permethrin coated clothes. Hopefully this is enough to keep the bugs away, and I know these wet conditions are not good for string trimming, but this is what we've got to work with, so we'll see how it goes. I'll also add that what we plan to do once we string trimmed it is put down the wood chips, and we did a bit of a trial with that. So if you look on the ground just here, you can see that's where we just dumped a bucket load of wood chips last week, just a little test, and we were really pleased with how that looked. So hopefully, once I've got all of this cleared and some wood chips spread out there, maybe all of that will look as good as our little test section. I am really impressed with this string trimmer. I think after doing all of that, it's still on, yeah, it's still 2 out of 3 bars on the battery. This thing is a beast. It's got 2 power modes, a low and a high power mode. I started off in the low power mode, and that worked fine to be honest, but I switched up to the high and that's got some serious power. As you can see behind me, it had no problem clearing through this wet grass and the ferns and things like that. It does have like a bump feed system, so you like tap the bottom on the ground to feed in more string. That worked great. You could tell when it needed more string, bump it, and it would feed some through. Really impressed so far. I think the path is looking great, so time to go and get some wood chips and start spreading them out. So one of the things we've started doing on the land is trying to name the different sections. And this is the bit of trail just kind of up from where we turn the truck around. We've called this Christmas Tree Alley. It just seemed like a fitting name as you walk through. Have the first bucket down now. That covered probably about 12 feet. And the round trip time to get here is probably about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so on the tractor, 8 minutes. So just rinse and repeat now. Well, there we have it. That is the area that I string trimmed earlier. I've now brought 6 bucket loads of wood chips up with the tractor and spread them out on the trail here. And I think it looks great. I think the trail looks really nice. I think the wood chips are going to do a great job of creating a nice walking surface, stop some of the grass and the ferns and the weeds coming back through, which when we're walking on here, we don't have to worry about as much about ticks and things like that if we're just walking on the trails, which should help a little bit. Obviously, these are wood chips. They will decompose down, so this isn't going to last forever, maybe a year or two, and then we'll have to do something else. This is really just designed a bit of an experiment to see, do we like it, how does it work out, and we had all those wood chips that needed to go somewhere. Speaking of which, we're only about a third of the way through that wood chip pile. There are a lot more wood chips I could bring up, at least probably another dozen bucket loads, and that would stretch quite a way further along the trail. But I'm going to stop here for a couple of reasons. First is, this weather isn't clearing up, it's still raining, it's so wet, the ground is so muddy. And honestly, the tractor is starting to tear up the area in the staging area where we put the wood chips down before. And I just don't want to do any more damage there than probably I already have done. So I'm going to head down there with the rake and just see if I can just tidy that up a little bit and hopefully fill in some of the ruts that the tractor's created. And it's honestly even been creating some pretty deep ruts just on the trail driving up to here and back. And in fact, where I'm standing at the kind of the closest part of the path that I've created today, it's starting to tear even that up. So if I keep going, I'm just going to start undoing the work that I've done already. The second reason is that just out of sight around the corner up there, the road kind of starts to climb up. And I don't want to do that when it's muddy, because I am just going to cause a load of problems up there if I carry on. So I'm going to pause here. I really like what this looks like so far. Let us know in the comments what you think. Does this trail look cool? Do you like it? I personally think it's a really nice kind of differentiation between the vegetation on either side and the kind of the nicely delineated trail in the middle. So I really like it. For now, I'm going to head back down and tidy up that staging area, and then I've got another project to work on while I'm here today. My next project had been to head out on the trails with the tractor and pull down some of the dead and the leaning trees that are near the trail, just for a bit of safety, just to tidy those up and make sure that they weren't going to fall when we were walking on the trails. But given the conditions, I don't want to head back there with the tractor. At best, I'm going to tear up the trail. At worst, I could even get the tractor stuck. So instead, I'm going to head down to the front of the property. Now, we have our driveway being installed in a few weeks. Remember, these are just the walking trails. This is not the surface we're going to be driving on. Our actual driveway is about 1,000 feet long, and we've got a contractor coming in with an excavator and bulldozers and tons and tons and tons of gravel, and they're going to dig a proper base down to put a road in, and that's going to go all the way from the road at the bottom up through our property to the house site. Some of that trail, or some of that driveway, will reuse the existing logging trail that we've been driving up and down to so far on the property. But there's a couple of steep sections, as you saw this morning, that in the current conditions I can barely get up in the truck, and that's too steep for a driveway. So for those sections, we're actually going to take a detour. We're going to add like a big curve into the driveway and pull the driveway up a slightly different path at the bottom than the logging trail takes, and then join the logging trail about halfway up. To do that, that means blazing a new trail through the middle of the forest, and the team can turn up with their excavators and they can do all of that. But to try and help things move along, what we've agreed with our contractor is that we're going to do some of that initial brush removal. So there's going to be a new entrance from the road itself, and then we've got to hack through some undergrowth that's down near the road before it gets into the forest. and our goal is to take out anything less than about 6 inches in diameter. Now, if we don't get it completed, that's not a problem. The contractor and his team will kind of plow through there with their big tools, and honestly, they'll do it so much faster than we can do it with our tools, and honestly, mainly by hand. But this will just help a little bit. It'll reduce the amount of time it takes them, it'll reduce the cost to us, so we want to get as much of that done as possible in the next few weeks. So given the weather, I don't want to start in the woods with the tractor, so I'm going to start down by the road and see if I can start clearing some of the brush. Diana made me a lovely salad lunch this morning, so that is what I'm having. Delicious. So this is with hill descent control on in the truck. Pretty much as slow as it will go. I'm letting the truck, hopefully, get me down here and avoid those trees. Because this is very slippery. Yeah, even with the hill descent control on, I think that slid far more than it drove down there. But we made it. Hopefully it dries out soon, but I think until then we might have to keep the truck off this little section. This is where our new driveway entrance is going to go. And so we've got to somehow get through all of this. So we've had the permit, that's been received, and now it's just a case of clearing our way through this undergrowth. And there's also, you can just about see in here, there's this stone wall that goes all the way across. So I think for now I'm not going to try and deal with the stone wall. I want to get the tractor down here to help with that so we can load the kind of stones into the tractor bucket. But maybe today I'll just see if I can string trim some of this undergrowth down and just start making some progress here. And then later on this week when it dries out, Diana and I can come and work on this together and hopefully make some good progress. So our new driveway is going to go up here and follow those orange flags that you can see behind me. It does have to leave the road fairly kind of perpendicular to the road, and there's all sorts of rules around the gradient and things. Our contractor's going to sort all of that out for us with a big excavator and make that nice and level and get all the right drainage and things in place. So all I've been trying to do is just clear some space wide enough to get a vehicle like an excavator through there. Still a long way to go. The driveway is about another 500 feet before it joins with the existing logging road. So Diana and I will pick this up and hopefully together we can make some good progress. There is a barbed wire fence just behind the wall down here that we found. Most of the boundary of our property does have this barbed wire fence around it. So good to find that here as well, but we'll just need to be careful of that when we're working. Hopefully we can get the tractor down here. We can take some of these big stones out of the wall here and use them to fill in the old agricultural entrance that we've been using so far and kind of block that off. Right now, I think the logging trail is kind of so muddy that even if we got the tractor down here, I'm not sure we'd get it back up again. So we might have to wait a bit until the trail dries out before we can do that. But yeah, I think we've made really good progress here today. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe as we continue the project to build our dream house on 40 acres here in Vermont, and we'll see you in the next video.